Oi, lads.
Hello. Okay, so today we've got a Boros deck here for standard best of one. So I was looking through the standard cards. I was looking through the decks, and there's not a ton of board wipes, huh? So we can try and abuse tokens, I think. Now, the reason why token decks don't normally work is because everyone always goes like one step too far, you know? Like they'll make some tokens, then they'll add 10 other cards to their deck that buff their tokens to be 20/20s. And then they die before they get to do the buff. So we're trying to be disciplined here. But we've got some squeeze, we've got some Adelines, we've got some adversaries to pump them up reasonably. Raiju can pump them up. We've got Baird, which can make tokens as long as you have a creature with power greater than its base power. Which I'm hoping that this deck can do. I mean, we've got Adversary to pump, Kamano to pump, we've got Emperor, we got Raiju. So I'm hoping that Baird will be making us some tokens pretty often. It's another deck where we need to run the 2 Triomes here because we've got we need 16 sources for Raiju and 18 for Adeline, and that's pretty hard to do if you're only running 24 lands like we are. But it's not. 2 Triomes is not a massive hit. I mean, late game you can cycle them. Sometimes you don't have a 1-drop, and it's okay to play them on turn 1. But otherwise, it's a quite aggressive Boros deck. We got some over-the-top damage with the Raiju and the play with fire. We got some good board presence with the nice white creatures. Got a little bit of haste with the red creatures on top of that, and some decent removal. Emperor, Cathar, play with fire. So I think everything about this deck is reasonable. We haven't had a Boros deck do too well in standard since it must be 2 standards ago now, when we had the Boros aggro deck. Now that Boros aggro deck actually played the Cavalier, right, which is still legal. Let me filter for that thing. Where are you? There you are. They had the Sunrise Cavalier. I'm not going to play the Sunrise Cavalier because it's a decent card, but and it can be pretty good with our kind of counters thing that we've got going on with the Baird. There's just no space for it, right? Like if you wanted to add a couple of copies here, like what are you cutting? You're gonna have to cut an Emperor, maybe a Cathar, but you're losing a lot of stuff there, right? If you cut any of the 1s or 2s, your early game is not fast, or more importantly, consistent enough. You're gonna have too many games where you don't have a 1-mana card or a 2-mana card, and we know from experience how fast standard best of 1 can be. Like you just can't afford to be missing those turns. Not for such a meager payoff like a random creature like Cavalier. At least the 3-mana cards that we are playing are all doing something like kind of very important, right? Cathar is a great removal spell. Adeline is a really hard to deal with creature and can snowball, and Squee is a little bit easier to deal with than Adeline and does a similar thing, but it has the benefit of kind of being our first graveyard card. And your first graveyard card is always going to get you so much value over the course of a few games. That's why you see decks like in other formats play CROKEYZ and then Euros when it was in the etc. Like just your first graveyard card or graveyard matters card is just so damn good. So as I said, everything looks reasonable. Let's play some games and see if it's good in practice or only good in theory. Alright, game 1 on the play. We do have one of our 2 Triomes, so this can be the downside of adding a second colour to your deck, especially if you're going to play the double pip cards like we are. Adeline and Raiju, I think, are strong enough that they're worth these games. Recruitment Officer, I mean, it's a creature you'd love to get down on turn 1, but we're not going to... It's a mana sink, you know, it's really okay to play this card later in the game. So let's start with the Triome. and we'll try and carve out otherwise, and we'll get this officer down when we can. So we do have the benefit of being on the play, but we did take a hit there by not getting the officer down. So we'll see how much that matters. Just carve out, carve out, carve out. Although Kamano draw, yeah, I mean Kamano and officer are more than good enough here, and it lets us save our Cathar for a bit of a spookier creature than a cult conscript, whatever the hell that is. This is actually very nice. Good choice that we made, because the Kamano now will actually give us a counter on our Raiju coming in. And the Raiju and the recruitment officer can actually attack into the graveyard trespasser. So getting a really nice benefit for adding these red creatures here. Normally, if you were playing just mono white, you would have to, you know, you'd have to discard a card to remove that trespasser, right? That would kind of suck.
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it when people.
Again, it looks like we might get a benefit from the black cards here, as long as they don't have a cut down, of course. So we can go Adeline, attack with our Kamano, and we're gonna get to kill Lily here. Using the Adeline token. Kamano trades with the conscript, but will get exiled though, which is really good.
I'll take my zombies and leave.
And because we didn't use that Cathar earlier, I've still got it. Now Flesh Gorger is a little spooky. If we Cathar the Flesh Gorger and they remove it, they're gonna get the big fat one back, huh? But if we Cathar the Shadow instead to play around that, then our Adeline just essentially can't attack. I mean, I guess it can. The reason I'm worried about it attacking is because they can just block with the token, right? Or block the token and get that 3 free life. But we'd actually still have an Adeline with 4 power plus another token getting through. So we would still actually get in for 2 damage. So let's get rid of the Shadow just to avoid that fat Flesh Gorger problem. Flooding a little bit here, but we do play 6 4-drops, bunch of 3s. This would be a good time for like an Emperor or a Squee or something. Also a good time for an opponent to flood. Alright, that was a decent start. The fact that we weren't playing mono red or mono white there was very relevant. Like we made good use on different turns of both the white and the red cards there. Let's go next game. Alright, into game 2. On the draw this time. We do have the recruitment officer again, but no triome this time, so it's a bit smoother. And I mean, this looks like a keep to me. Only 1 white source, so we probably should start with our recruitment officer. Okay, we get the second planes. Okay, well that's good. That means we can start with the Kamano. And we can go double white 1-drop next turn into Squee. Opponent looks like they're playing Grixis. Or maybe Rakdos just with the Triome. This will be a hard game on the draw, but we are playing the type of deck that can kind of get over the top of this. Dread Fugue, huh? Alright, pretty nice. Wow. Okay, not what I expected them to take, and quite a spooky choice. Do they have some sort of board wipe to deal with these 2 officers? They pass. It's quite difficult to play around a board wipe here, right? We should just slam the Squee. I mean, there's a lot of payoff if it doesn't die, and if it does get countered, well, it's just a Squee, right? We'll just bring it back later. It resolves. It gets to attack. Okay, now I'm getting really scared of a board wipe. There's no explanation for their plays so far other than that. I mean, if they've got a board wipe in their deck but they're having to dig for it, maybe that's not so bad. Let's see. Okay. So it looks like that makes a bit more sense now. So they probably play board wipes in their deck. They just didn't find it. But I mean that's the benefit of playing a creature deck, right? Like that's why creature decks are so popular. That's why they're so strong. That's why they win so many games. Is because if you're the creature player in this matchup, I mean you just play your cards, right? If you're the board wipe deck, you gotta find it. We've got, well, not including the lands, like whatever, 36 cards or something that we can just play whatever, whereas they have 2, 3, maybe 4 board wipes. And even if they find one, they might not win that game, right? Like if they have a board wipe here, we have Raiju getting in for 4, putting them to 5. After all these creatures go to the graveyard, like Squee is already able to be brought back. Like they have to dig, find the board wipe, spend the mana, cast it, and even then they sometimes don't even win. So this is why these type of decks are more popular in best of 3. But yeah, we took advantage of that, played our creatures, clicked attack, won the game. As a simple plan, but a winning plan. Next game, please. Alright, we go to game 3. We've got a strong opponent here, rank 300. On the play, we did find one of our triomes again. We only play 2, so that's a little annoying, but we got a 1-drop, got a 2-drop, we're on the play. We could find an untapped land for Adeline and maybe even the Raiju, so let's get in there. A deserted beach, huh? Probably soldiers, but I would be surprised if someone was this high playing just soldiers. Wow, they are. Okay. No attacks. First strike, pretty sick here. Sure. First strike, pretty sick, and my my triomes are so bad. Esper Legends, huh? Adeline or Raiju? Well, it's gotta be the Raiju, right? Raiju and get him. Get in with our Feldon. Okay, Thalia going down is not too bad. Their Rafine attack is worse. We're now more likely to be able to get in with Adeline. Hopefully we can draw a Cathar here. Lauren, that's okay. Let's get in with Feldon. No blocks, huh? Well, that's not bad. We get to get in for some damage. They can attack with Rafine and Sheoldred and they can gain a bit of life, of course, but it's not as if we have a terrible swing back here, you know? Okay, if they only attack with 1, that's not so bad. They're building up the number of legendaries they've got in play though, so the legendary lands are going to start getting a lot cheaper now. Cathar. I mean, Cathar is obviously a great draw. Who are we taking out though? We take out Sheoldred. Errata Drabic is probably going to block our recruitment officer, huh? And we won't be able to pay the ward with a play with fire, so that would be annoying. But not the worst. If we take out the Ratadrabic, we don't have to play with fire at all. If we take out the Rafine, they've got 2 good blocks. So I guess we're taking out Sheoldred, huh? Take out Sheoldred, get in there. If they block Recruitment Officer, I mean, they're still taking 11 damage, and they would actually just be dead to the play with fire. Alright, and we take a nice win against a strong opponent that had a decent start. Their Thalia on turn 2 really stopped one of our attacks. We had 2 tap lands in this game and we still overcame it. They had what? They had Thalia, Rafine, Sheoldred, Ratadrabic. I mean, they did what their deck's trying to do, and we just kind of ran over them. So, not sure what else to say. That's a very impressive game. Let's go to the final one. All right, last game. We're on the play again for the 3rd time. But these Jetmere Gardens, huh? We play 2. We've actually had one every game that we're on the play. It's nice to be on the play, but it would be nicer to be on the play without this Jetmere's Garden, huh? Okay. So turn 1 Recruitment Officer, turn 2 Tapland and our 2nd Recruitment Officer, turn 3 Adeline if we've got a land, or just yet another 1 Recruitment Officer. It's actually a little bit sus, but it seems like a hand we can't be mulling. If we do draw a land, our Adeline's going to be great, and if we don't draw a land, we should draw, in that case, a spell that we can cast, hopefully. Which would also be fine. Okay, that is a spell that we can cast, I suppose. If you're gonna be, Wow. A surprising attack. I mean, we're taking it. They just paid 4 life, essentially. Well, actually 5 because of our Adeline, but on board they paid 4 life to deal 2. Our opponent is already in big trouble. And I like the look of a 4-0 here. If we draw a land, Raiju is just backbreaking. If we don't draw a land, we've got at least 2 1-drops to play, maybe a 1 and a 2 if we draw that. Or 3 1s if we draw another one. So the only real bad draw here is one of our Emperors or one of our remaining Raijus. Everything else is either a land for Raiju or a castable spell. I guess with our mountain, a 3rd white 1-drop would be bad too, but yeah, we don't have any of those left, I guess. Makes sense. Alright, let's slam the Raiju. Obviously they've only got 1 land, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And we can just all attack. They have a good block here with the Swift Spear on the Recruitment Officer. They can double block Raiju, but I mean, they're just dead, right? They kept 1 land on the draw. I mean, seems a bit unreasonable, but I'll take my win. And we move up to rank 223. Hey. 4-0 with Boros. Not bad. Yeah, let's take another look at the deck and we'll see what we'd keep, what we'd change. Alright. Quick, clean 4-0 there. The 2 Jetmere's Gardens were quite annoying, of course, but they worked out anyway, and they are necessary if we want to play both Adeline and Raiju. I'm not sure that we can justify cutting one of these 2 cards just to change these gardens into what, another plains and another mountain, especially when we used Adeline and Raiju, I think, in all 4 games, at least one of them to win. They're two. It's just 2 great creatures, and of course, even though we drew the garden in all 3 of the games that we were on the play, you're obviously not going to draw the garden every single time you're on the play. We just got a little bit unlucky with that. The Cathars were decent. The play with fires were good. We seemed to be carving out most games, so that the curve was feeling nice. Never got to see the Beard in action, but from the games that we did play, there was a lot of counters getting added onto cards, or at least the base power increasing, right? Like Adeline, Kamano, Raiju's. We were playing at least one of those cards in most of the games, so I think if we did draw a Beard, it would have been pretty nice. So yeah, I think that was impressive. We just kind of steamrolled a wide variety of decks. The one thing that did worry me in those games was when our opponent played the Worm, the black card. Someone played a Flesh Gorger against us. We had a Cathar. So that could be a little bit awkward in some games, but we have other ways to deal with it. You know, we've got Wandering Emperor, we've got Raiju counters, sorry. We've got, you know, First Strikers can be pretty good against it, so I'm not too scared of the Flesh Gorger, but that was the most awkward turn that we had. But we still just used the Cathar and the Shadow and had a decent attack anyway, right? It wasn't so bad. And I mean, if you're playing a deck and the worst thing that happens to you is that you have just a good attack instead of a great attack, then I think your deck's doing okay. So I was actually very impressed by that. I don't think we missed the Cavaliers that you could play if you're playing Boros. I think another card that you could play is the Peacekeeper as a 3-drop, but I was impressed with all 3 of these. I don't think I would change any of those for the Peacekeepers. There's some different 4-mana cards that you could choose. You've got Paragon, for example. Even the Angel that where you can kick and drain for 2, or damage lifelink for 2. That's an interesting card that you could maybe try in this deck, but again, that would be in the Emperor slot probably. You still want your Raiju haste, so I'm not sure, especially when you don't have access to the black mana. You don't really have any way to make the black, so normally with a first version of the deck, when you're trying like a kind of new archetype like this, there's going to be stuff that you want to change, but to be honest, I think we've luck-sacked our way to a good version first try. So yeah, I'm happy. I'll see you for the next video, I suppose. Ecuador. Ecuador.